In the name of the source, the Word, and the Spirit. Amen. Well, I suppose you are all wondering why I'm wearing black today. It isn't a funeral. It isn't anything other than it's teaching time. So once or twice a summer, I do a teaching sermon where I try to give you a little bit more background on the iconography or the traditions or the customs of the church. Last summer I did a demonstrated Eucharist, if you remember. And this Sunday what I thought I would do is get dressed in front of you. So if I get nervous, you'll know why, because generally this is called a cassock, and Kent is going to help me with the pronunciation. It's actually Middle French for cassock. Where's Kent? That way. How do you pronounce it? Cassock. So basically it was considered a riding coat. Kept you warm, right? Those big cathedrals, stone cathedrals, were really cold. And so a priest would wear this around, and almost until about the middle of the 20th century, you would see, in the old movies, you would see a priest wearing a cassock. It's C-A-S-S-O-C-K. So cassock has many, many buttons, right? Black. It has generally all black, but what you can tell, of course, the church, and then it kind of came from the Roman Empire. It was, okay, we got to make distinguishes. You got to be a better priest than that priest. You got to have a little bit more rank. So the purple buttons on mine, normally I would wear an all black cassock if I was an ordinary everyday priest. The purple buttons means I'm a canon in the church. So it'd be kind of like an equivalent of a Monsignor in a Catholic church, right? So I've been asked, or I've been kind of dubbed, oh, you're a canon in the church. That means I've done some extra work and blah, blah, blah. They canoned me. So you wear the color of your bishop. And at the time, the bishop wore this color purple, not the magenta purple. Generally, it has a sash, and that's the sign of a priest also. If you're not wearing, like they're wearing cassocks also, they delineate acolytes. We've chosen blue for our choir. But generally, a priest wears a sash. And there's a lot of arguments amongst priests about what side. I wear it on the right because it's made that way. Okay? I don't know why those priests get confused, but you see a lot of them doing this. I prefer this. They go, I can't be on the right-hand side of God. I'm like, get over yourself and wear it on the right side. So a lot of times they have tassels. It's actually very finely made. In the 19th century, it was considered the underwear of the priest, so I just processed down the aisle in my underwear. It's one of those nightmares. You're going to speak in front of people naked or in your underwear. I'm doing that right now. So then what happens is you put on an alb. A priest will, generally nowadays we don't wear the cassock because it's so hot in Southern California. We just opt out of the cassock, but I will wear it during Lent as a penitential kind of sign that during Lent I wear the cassock. We wear it on Good Friday. You wear it like if you're demonstrating and want to get arrested in the marketplace. You'll see priests, right, Charles? My dear friend Charles has been arrested a few times. I've asked Robert to assist me today because it isn't exactly easy without a mirror. So generally then Jeff will come in at this point and wire me up. I'm already wired up. And it's actually quite elaborate. An alb comes from the Latin word white. So an alb is generally always white or off-white. It can come in many forms. It can have a hood. It can not have a hood. It can be ornamented like this one. It can be plain. I wore a plain wool one for a long time because I was working in the cathedral, and in the wintertime it's very cold. So they kind of cheat. They have Velcro now instead of buttons, which is lovely. So generally, I also have a microphone in the way. So I'm trying to get my hair too. Okay. So y'all are kind of Velcroed up now. I just lost my microphone. Okay, so generally, this is also considered a baptismal gown, right? It's white. The priest is kind of preparing for the service, and actually, the layers come on. You are really trying to leave the world behind and actually wear a kind of like a baptismal covenant alb. It's also an early predecessor, or it's a kind of a piece of history. It was actually part of a toga, right? So it was after the Roman Empire that the people would wear a toga. Then comes a cincture. It's a rope. Sometimes it has tassels. Most of the time they're knots. Usually very, very long because they're going to go around the waist. Some priests opt out of wearing this. I like it because it keeps the stole in place. Where's my sailor? Tony, you're going to have to tell me what kind of knot this is. What kind of knot is that? Is that a slip knot or something? We call it a Roman knot, but it's probably not. Okay, so we're getting a cincture, right? Cinch. And we come across the two sides. And I don't even know what this knot is, but I think it's the same thing. We flip it in. And isn't that just super convenient? Right? So now we try to make it even. Am I even? Am I turned around? I need a mirror. Don't try this at home. Okay, so I have kind of my baptismal gown, my toga, my cincture. Then we have a stole. Now the stole is usually about 7.5 to 9 feet long. The predecessor was the shawl. And you can kind of see where the Jewish prayer shawl comes from, right? We adopted a shawl, and it got narrower and narrower and narrower and more ornamented. So we have all kinds of fringe. And it just became a kind of like a competition who could be more ornate in the Gothic period. And so we've kind of toned it down a little bit, but this one in particular has gold lining. I actually bought this, Bob will correct me, I think I got it in Spain, maybe Italy. It is Italian. Most of the time they're made out of silk or brocade, very fine fabrics. Generally it is set apart. There is generally a cross at the top of the stole. The priest will kiss it out of respect for the office they are now wearing, the priesthood. And they'll put it on. And then this is where this comes in handy. See these little slots you have? And it holds the stole in place. Now what happened as the ecclesiastical authority grew is the stoles became more and more ornate depending on office, right? Farther up you get, the more ornate. And then about the turn of the 20th century, we started making them a little more plain and down to earth. So you see, then you've got to make sure they're even. So, but generally there's all kinds of signs and symbols to everything a priest puts on. Now this is called a chasuble. Basically a poncho. And that's what it's, the ecclesiastical poncho. Seriously, that's what they, oh, it's so nice to be dressed. Every girl needs her. Every girl needs her acolyte. So basically, this was a kind of like an overcoat from kind of the Middle Ages, and they realized that, the priest needs a little freedom, so they became more and more open, and it literally is a poncho. It's called casita, a little house. And so this became the ecclesiastical garb for a priest probably around the 1700s. And so now today we wear them according to the seasons of the church, right? So right now it's called common time. So we wear green throughout the summer, and it really, is a long, long period. So a lot of times priests will have 2 or 3 different colors of green that they wear just to shake it up a little bit. Purple is for Lent. You'll see us wear blue for Advent, which is by Christmas time. I felt the adoption of blue would be great because it's more Marian, more Mary, pregnancy. So blue is Mary. You have white for High Holy Days and funerals and baptisms. And then you have red for martyrs and Pentecost. And certain confirmation, or if you're being ordained, you usually wear red or white. The bishop usually decides what color. So that's kind of the garb. I think that generally speaking, priests kind of personalize their look and how they fit. Reverend Susan has told me, I can't wear those things, they're too big, so she has her own set. And it's true, because I was suiting up, and my cassock, my black cassock, actually has a pocket in the back where Jeff wired me up, where there's an open slot for a man's wallet. So it's not made for a woman yet. There are these little things that you learn. I suppose what happens for me is as I'm out here in the church, wandering around, and there's always something to take care of or someone needs help, is I'm a Martha. No doubt about it. Right? I'm running around, blah, blah, blah. There's things that have to be done. And the vestments and the vesting and being intentional about what I'm putting on, the cincture, kissing the stole, placing the chasuble on, I become a Mary. We all know the story of Mary and Martha very, very well. In fact, it's probably one of the most famous ones, where Martha is just really ticked off that she's got all the kitchen duty, and Mary's at the feet of Jesus. I think it takes a lot to go to the feet of Jesus. Generally, it's realizing you need Jesus. And what maybe Martha's assumption, or poor assumption was, when she invited Christ to her table, was that she could just carry on business as usual. And I don't think she realized that when you make that commitment, you really have to transform your world and sit at the foot of Jesus first, and then go make dinner. Now, she was pretty worked up about this, and Jesus said, wait a minute. Mary, who, by the way, should not have been at the feet of Jesus, because it was reserved for only men to sit at the foot of a rabbi and learn. So Jesus was breaking a barrier right there. It was an incredible barrier that he was breaking. And sometimes I think, why didn't he do more? Why didn't he tell his disciples to go in the kitchen and make dinner? Wash dishes. And let Martha have a break. Have a nap. Go do her nails. Right? Go Starbucks, that's what you need, a latte. Why didn't he do that? The story isn't about really that. The story is putting on Christ, getting into the Mary mode of making that commitment of really the life of Christ, which is absolutely undying love. And once we make that a priority in our life transforms. And I would just encourage you during the week to think of something you can do that will have you put on Christ. Intentionally realize that you too should sit at the foot of Christ in order to grow, to be nurtured, to think of things that really give you intentionality about your faith. I certainly feel that by the time I'm vested, and it's a few minutes before the service, I'm ready. And pretty much, I'm so focused on being here with you and helping all of us sit at the foot of Christ for just a little while on Sunday morning. It is a wonderful life when that door opens and you can see the love of Christ, and you too can give the love of Christ out into the world. Just encourage you this week to think in terms of what you can do to sit in love and at the foot of Christ. Amen.